Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to graph an equation. We've seen the y equals mx plus b when we're trying to identify slope. So just as a reminder, the m here is slope. Okay, and then we haven't really talked about anything else on this equation. So y equals mx plus b. The new thing that we're going to talk about is the b. This is the y-intercept. Y-intercept. And you can write the y-intercept as a point on the graph. And the way that we write the y-intercept as a point on a graph would be parentheses 0, comma, b. So whatever the b value is. So that's 0, comma, b. That's how we would write it as a point. Okay, so the next thing you need to know when we're graphing equations is the slope tells us how to move. Okay, tells us how to move, and the y-intercept tells us where to begin. Okay, and you will notice when we start graphing these, we are going to begin on the y-axis, which is the vertical up and down. That's why it's called the y-intercept. So y-intercept is where we begin. Slope is how we move. Real quick reminder, ways that we can move. If we move up, that is positive. If we move down, that is negative. If we move to the right, that is positive. If we move to the left, that is negative. Okay, so those are ways to move, depending on if the number is positive, negative, or so forth. So let's go ahead, let's get started. Our first problem. So I'm going to circle, first of all, I'm going to circle my slope. So this is my slope, this is my m. And then my y-intercept is -2. This is my b. Okay, and I told you that the b is where we begin, and it's going to be on the y-axis. So the y-axis is the one that is straight up and down. So what we need to do is we need to find -2. So once you find -2, you're going to plot that point. Remember, we could also write this as a point 0, comma, -2. So if I look, that is that point right there. Okay, from that point, now we have to move. And the way that we're going to move is however our slope tells us to move. So it says 1/2. So 1 is positive, so we're going to go up 1 and over 2 and plot a point. Go up 1 over 2, plot a point. Up 1 over 2, plot a point. Once you have a few points on there, you can go ahead and just get the line tool and graph a line through this. Make sure it extends out of the dots, and then we can put arrows on it. Okay, so we just graphed that equation. Let's move on to the next. So again, I'm going to circle my slope. I'm going to identify that this is my slope, and in this case, my b is +2. Remember, I could write this as 0, comma, 2. So I got to find that point on my graph. That point is right here. And now we have to move. So it says +7 over +3. Well, when we look at the ways that we can move, it says that positive we need to go up. But however, if you look here, if we go up 7, we're going to run off the graph. So there is one thing that I would like to point out. We can write 7/3 is the same thing as -7 over -3, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So in this case, we would have to go down 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and to the left 3, and plot a point. Okay, and you can double check that by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3. And now we have our 2 points. Let's go ahead and draw our line. Line's a bit off here, but that's okay. Okay. Another thing I want to point out, look at these graphs. They both have a positive slope. Are the graphs positive? Yes, they're going uphill. Okay, let's look at a couple more examples. So number 3, I'm going to just go ahead and circle my b values or my y-intercepts, and I'm also going to circle my slopes. If you notice here in our slopes, they're negative, so we're looking for a graph that goes downhill. Okay, so on number 3, we're going to plot our point at, oh, I think I messed it up a little bit because I can't see. Oh, it is a positive. Okay, positive 1. Remember, this could be written as 0, 1, and that would be right here. That's our B or our y-intercept, and now we have to move. Now this says -2. Remember, -2 is just -2 over 1. So we can go down 2, 1, 2, and over 1, and plot a point. Down 2 and over 1, plot a point. And then we're going to draw our line. Notice that it goes downhill, which means that it is a negative slope, which works perfect because our slope is negative. Okay, next one. We're going to plot a point at -5. Because remember, this can be written as 0, -5. And then now we need to use our slope to tell us how to move. So we have a -3 over 2. Please let me point out that -3 over 2 is the same thing as 3 over -2. Those are the exact same thing. Okay. So because we'll run off the graph if we go down 3, let's go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. But now if we're going -2, we have to go to the left. So 1, 2, and we plot a point right there. Okay, up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then to the left 2, and plot a point. We can go ahead and graph our line. Okay, and then the last 2 are the special cases. So let's take a look at this. And thing that you need to know about these is for number 5, the slope is 0. So whenever it says x equals, it is 0 slope. Whenever it just says y equals a number, this is undefined slope. So if you remember back to that, actually, sorry, I got these mixed around. My apologies. My apologies. Okay, sorry. This one is undefined, and this one is 0 slope. Okay, so if you remember back, undefined is a vertical line, 0 is a horizontal line. So horizontal for 0, vertical for undefined. Now, where are we going to put these lines? That's what we're going to talk about. So if it says x equals -3, okay, so x equals -3, you're going to find where -3 is on the x-axis. Okay, so we'll find -3 on the x-axis, so that's here. And then we have to make our vertical line. So that's how you would graph it. Okay. It is going through the x-axis, and it is x equals. So it goes through the x-axis. So if you look right, here's the x-axis. It is going through it because it's x equals. Taking that same idea, we need to find 2 on the y-axis over here. And this is going to be a horizontal line. And because it says y equals, it's going to go through the y-axis. So there it is. Please email me if you have any questions.